Well, speaking of prayer, as a parent, I'm very, very sensitive to these issues. And in the state of Montana, which is actually a conservative state, and the governor there's a good governor, Greg Giafonte, who is a friend. So there's a situation that's developed there. Family has accused the state's Child and Family Services Office of removing their teenage daughter from their home, saying they say the child was kidnapped. It was a 14-year-old, after their daughter wanted to identify as a boy. Now, the governor is saying his office has investigated the parents' claim and found the Department of Health and Human Services followed both internal procedures and the law. Now, there's also some more information that's come out even as of this afternoon. Now, I should note that Montana is one of more than 20 states that have a law protecting children and prohibiting gender procedures for minors. So a sad story of a family torn apart. But what do we know about the parents' allegations, and how great of a threat is this to parental rights across the nation? Joining me now to discuss this, Meg Kilgannon, Senior Fellow for Education Studies here at the Family Research Council. Meg, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thanks, Tony. It's great to be here.
Okay, just like everything, there's always two sides to every story.
Sure.
But when you have evidence that your child has been transitioned to, the sex that they are not, there's obviously something going on here. What do we know about this case in Montana?
What we know about this case in Montana is these parents are very upset that their child has been removed from their custody and been allowed to proceed with a social transition.
All right, let me establish something. There was no abuse, there was allegations of abuse or anything. That's all centered around refusal to acknowledge a girl wanting to transition to a boy.
That seems to be the case. That seems to be what's happened. I mean, we can't know for sure, right? But according to the parents, that is the case. That was the grounds that caused their child to be removed from their care. And so from their custody, let alone their care. The hinge here seems to be the difference between medical procedures and social transition.
Right, because in Montana, the surgical drugs and such are not allowed.
Those are illegal. But allowing her to change her name and change her pronouns, she's been allowed to shave her head since she's been in foster care. Those things are allowed to proceed. And we need to...
Let me clarify that for a moment, because the parents objected to it.
Yes.
But we're told, well, this is a gray area in law. That's only the physical. We can do the social transitioning.
And it seems, according to some accounts that I've read, that the stepmom has reported, they have been just fought at every turn and undermined at every turn by the people that are supposed to be providing care for their daughter, by these outside people taking the side of the child over reinforcing the rights of the parents and following the directives of the parents when it comes to their minor child. This is terribly destabilizing. I mean, their family will likely never be the same as a result of this whole situation.
They're traumatized.
So this is the damage that is happening here is something that is very real, and it's not just a gray area, right? These are interventions. As my colleague Jennifer Bowens would say, these are interventions. They are treatments, even though they don't involve quote-unquote medical procedures like surgery or drugs. When you're changing a child's name, that is a form of a therapy.
Right.
And so it shouldn't be a gray area under the law. These are therapies.
Because it's leading to the same path, the same outcome.
Yes.
It's actually setting the stage for the irreversible surgeries and drug treatments.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you pretend that you're a boy for 6 months, you don't get to go back to those 6 months, January to June, and be a girl again, right? You've been a boy, you've been pretending. You don't get that time back either. So it is irreversible, a social transition. You don't have to persist in it.
So, Meg Kilgannon, someone say, well, all right, so you got a case up in Montana, all right, big deal. So it's not a threat to me.
No, it is a threat to you, because I feel like a lot of folks that are living in conservative states or states with good conservative governors,
like Montana,
they feel a sense of protection. They feel like this isn't going to happen on their watch. It's not going to happen in their state. They live with the sane people, whatever you want to think. But the fact is that you're not safe. You're actually a target. Your family and your state is going to be targeted for these kind of interventions because that's how the left works.
Right.
They're always doing the work, right?
Right.
As
We've
they
seen
love
that.
to
We've
say.
seen that over the last 15 years. They don't try to turn purple states blue. They go to red states.
Yes, exactly.
Because no one's expecting them.
That's right. And, parents who are trying to do the best they can for their children, who are law-abiding, rule-following kinds of parents, are the kind of parents who are going to go along with Child Protective Services and try to work with the process because they trust the process.
So this should be a wake-up call for governors in red states, legislators in red states, because I've worked with child protection agencies, and I know that they tend to lean heavy to the left. My wife is an MSW. She has her master's in social work. She worked in that area. And very few Christians who respect parental rights are there. So lawmakers and governors need to really focus on these areas, given the hostility and the aggressiveness of this agenda from the transgender activist.
Absolutely. This is an area for lots of government regulation, right? This isn't an area where, as a conservative, you want to be hands off.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure that people are not abusing the power that they have over the vulnerable.
One of the most sacred relationships is between a child and a parent.
Yes.
And that should not be breached except as a last resort. And it is.
In the most dire of circumstances.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just as the founders were adamant about property rights in the family. Of course, they didn't even entertain the idea of the breach of that relationship between a child and parent that we see happening today. Unfortunately, Meg, we're out of time. Always great to talk with you.
Thank you.
You're always a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you.